Stanley, Scuba, Sailing, and Adventures. It's time to get out the adventure journal and log another entry. Today we'll be scuba diving off the west end of the Grand Cayman Island. The dive site, Chute. This is the first dive of the day on day 3, dive number 9 overall for the trip. I've been using 2 reference books to gather more information about the dive sites on this trip to the Cayman Islands. The first book is called Reef Smart Guides Grand Cayman. It has some pretty detailed descriptions of the dive sites. The other book is called The Dive Sites of the Cayman Islands. This second book does not have as much descriptive information about the dive sites. However, it lists more dive sites, and it does include this particular dive site, the Chute. I'll leave the names of those 2 books and that information I just mentioned about the number of sites and length of descriptions in the comments. In regard to location, this dive site is southeast of the Neptune's Wall dive site. It's a single pin mooring dive site, and of course, as I mentioned at the very beginning, off the west end of the Grand Cayman Island. The conditions here may be variable due to the amount of sand particulate. Obviously it's called the Chute, so there's quite a bit of sand here. There's generally very little current here, and it's an easy but deep dive. Visibility averages somewhere around 80 feet. I don't think we were seeing that today, but if you've been watching the series so far, you understand we've been battling some weather challenges all week. The dive site gets its name because there's a large river of sand that bisects the wall. The Chute is around 300 feet wide. You really can't miss it. There are a large number of deep crevices in the wall. They're very interesting to swim through. I typically try to be first or avoid these, but in this case this one looked really interesting, so I tried to hold back a little. But a lot of times when you're with a group of divers, not everyone is familiar with frog kicking, so if you're further back in the line, you get quite a bit of particulate kicked up. See, you can notice the diver at the front who's shooting some video of his buddy. His split fins are down there in the sand kicking everything up. I don't mean that to be critical. Not everyone has had the same training, so please don't take it that way. I'm for certain not the best diver, and I believe there's always room for improvement in everything all the time. I do try to be mindful of my buoyancy and try to remember to always frog kick. However, I'm certain I've done some really stupid things, and there's probably some video of it out there. I hope it never shows up on the internet. I was fortunate enough to have some really good dive instructors along the way in my career. I did do quite a few of the PADI certifications, and I felt they did make me a better diver. I never tried to rush through those and get a lot of certifications all at once, but occasionally going back to get another certification after I'd had another series of dives under my belt, I really felt helped me improve. I particularly remember when I did my advanced open water diver, my instructor was a cave diver, and as one of the electives I did the peak performance buoyancy, and he really hammered on me about the frog kicking and position in the water. So honestly, that still comes to mind a lot when I'm diving, and I take a second to think about my position, buoyancy, and frog kicking technique. Again, it's far from perfect and always a work in progress. I guess the summary of all of that is it never hurts to go and get some additional training or education, and I'm probably overdue. I just saw a porcupine fish in front of me dip into this crevice, and as I glance up I can see we're almost directly under the boat. Turn the video lights back on. There he is. Again, that's a porcupine fish, not to be confused with the spot fin burrfish. They look very similar. The porcupine fish range in size from 1 to 2 feet, reaching a maximum of about 3 feet, and are most often found in depths of water from 10 to 60 feet. This crevice is fairly large and deep, but I think it's just a little too narrow for me to fit in. Oh, look, there he's looking at me. I'm hoping he'll pop back out. But he has this deep crevice to hide in. We'll cruise along for a minute and see if he pops back out. There are a couple areas here where I think I could maybe drop down in to the crevice, but it looks a little tight, and I probably couldn't do it without bumping into the walls, and certainly don't want to cause any damage to the environment, so unfortunately we'll have to just look in from the top. He never did pop back out, so I moved on and found this rock beauty. That's the black and yellow fish. It doesn't seem like I'm ever able to get close to those to get a good picture or video. Here's a black durgeon. They're part of the triggerfish family, and the further away you are, the blacker they look, at least in my opinion. And when you get close, they're really not quite that dark. I know this is a parrotfish, but I'm struggling a little bit with the identification. I'm not sure if it's a red band or stoplight parrotfish, maybe somewhere between the initial and terminal phases. The colors on the parrotfish change so much as they grow, so not sure about that last one. Here are some more of those black durgeon triggerfish. The black durgeon range in size from 6 to 12 inches, reaching a maximum of 16 inches, and are usually found in depths of water from 20 to 100 feet. Here's an adult hogfish. The adults have this dark face and are much larger. They range in size from 1 to 2 feet, reaching a maximum of 3 feet, and are usually found in depths of water from 10 to 100 feet. Here's a stoplight parrotfish in the terminal phase. Notice the yellow dot right at the top of the gill cover, and the yellow at the beginning and end of the tail. As I mentioned earlier, the colors really change, especially on the stoplight parrotfish, throughout their life. I guess that one had enough camera time for now. Sometimes I feel like the stoplight parrotfish almost enjoy the camera time. Oh, and there's the fish again. I guess he came back for his close-up. Maybe it's the lights? Uncertain. But I do like to photograph them. The colors are just spectacular. There's another stoplight parrotfish at the bottom, and here's another parrotfish. The one that just left the screen to the right was a red band parrotfish. The one still in frame here is a stoplight parrotfish in the initial phase. Lots of parrotfish here on the reef. Here's that stoplight parrotfish again. Note that we can tell by the yellow spot above the gill cover and the 2 yellow markings on the tail. Here's an interesting shot. These are both stoplight parrotfish, the one closest to me with the yellow spot and the one in back with the red belly. That is also the same fish at a different phase of maturity. You can really tell what a difference the video lights make in terms of the color and how much color is lost. When I'm doing those wider, broad shots over the reef, everything looks a little gray and washed out. But when I'm close like this, you can really see the color start to pop. If you look off in the distance further away in this frame, you can see what I'm talking about here all in one shot. That's a result of the different bands of light getting filtered out as the water gets deeper. I believe the fish on the rock here is a rock hind, possibly a red hind, but I think more likely a rock hind. And this is the Brad fish. That's my dive buddy Brad. Hey Brad. Here's the rest of our dive group. The yellow tank is our dive leader. I love that they use the yellow tanks. Makes it very easy to figure out who's who, at least in regard to the most important person, the dive guide.
Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment.